So with season 2 officially out, a lot of you guys know that rifles got a huge buff this update. Not only did they get a buff, they got a rework on how you fire them. You no longer have to tap, 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 tap. You can just hold them down and they almost feel like an automatic rifle. Again, they'll have a slow RPM, but it's definitely better than tapping it yourself. And if you put the right mods on your weapon, man, some of these rifles shoot like a laser beam. And I've been playing with quite a few of them. I don't have all of them, and there's still one that I've been looking for. But this one that I'm currently using, the Urban MDR, has been a laser beam, especially with some stability mods on it. I'm literally just banging out shots. And I'll tell you, the amount of damage that these rifles do at this RPM is pretty insane. And the fact that I don't have to tap anymore, I can just hold down the trigger. It just automatically melts these guys. And on this build specifically, I've seen up to 3 million plus damage, depending on what modifiers I have active. And with this season, you guys know that we have active modifiers, passive modifiers, and these all should be shown with the builds because that will make how strong your build can be, because those just make your builds even stronger. So I'll be showing you my modifiers of what I've been using with this build, and I'm telling you, I'm having a blast. This thing is better than I thought. I was unsure if I was gonna use rifles, but after putting this build together, I was like, you know what, this is exactly what I was looking for, and I think I probably will. Now, I actually made a version of this build with 1 or 2 small tweaks last update, and it just didn't feel like it had enough bang for the buck. But now I'll tell you, rifles, man, you should definitely give them a try if you've never tried them in past seasons, because now is the best time. Now, I do have some survivability with this build. I did put some armor on kill on there, and if you saw that gameplay, I had no armor second, and then I killed the enemy and had some. So yeah, this build will have some survivability. I'm not all about all red builds. It's just not how I play. A lot of times I play solo, so I love running different types of builds and builds that maybe have a little bit more armor, especially with how hard we're hitting this season. The weapon I am running is the Urban MDR, and I'll show you a full list of all the rifle changes right here. But again, you really just need to decide which rifle you feel plays best to your playstyle. They all hit pretty hard. Obviously, some are better than others. I honestly like the Urban MDR, especially with the mods and attachments I put onto it. I feel like it has a really good base damage, and the stability is easy to control to get those headshots. And the numbers I'm putting up is actually pretty good. Pretty sure there's a few that are hit harder. This being early on in this season, the Urban MDR has become one of my favorite rifles. The way we have our Urban MDR set up, we'll go through the stats real quick. Total damage is 264,000. Base damage on this is 103, and then obviously I'm adding 161. Currently, you're seeing this with no stack. The gameplay you got to see with 30% stack, so that's additional 30% weapon damage on the build. 380 RPM, but you remember you can actually hold this down, so it feels pretty solid. 46 in the magazine, but you guys are actually going to see a talent that's going to help this magazine be even larger. Headshot damage is 80% on this weapon, 60% optimal range. We go over here, you'll see that we have 12% expertise in this one, so it's going to give us 12% more weapon damage, rifle damage, critical damage, and then I roll damage to targets out of cover on here. Those are the 3 stats you kind of want to go there. Now, what I was talking about the magazine being increased a little is because of this. If you think about it, right? Boomerang, critical hits have 50% chance to return the bullet to the magazine. That means since this build is sitting at cap, right? I'll be around 60% most of the time. I'm going to be able to have more than just 46, and that's what's amazing about this. If a bullet is returned to the magazine, the next shot has a 40% increased damage. That's why Boomerang is so amazing, because you can have definitely a larger magazine than 46, depending if you have that 50% proccing, right? That's why this one, and not only that, the extra 40% increased damage is pretty insane on this build that has high crit and high crit damage. Now, if you go down, we do have the Pro Red Dot sight. I did go with stability on here because I didn't need to put any crit chance on this one. I could probably get rid of some stability, maybe put some more crit damage on there, but I felt having the stability makes this weapon shoot like a laser beam, and you can just hold down the trigger and just let it go off. And then we have 20 rounds in the magazine with -10 reload speed. We have 30% stability and 30% accuracy. I'm actually thinking I may switch one of the stability ones for maybe some reload speed, because I do feel that reload speed, because it is 2.97 seconds. So for the first piece, we are running the Palisade Steelworks Mask. This is going to give us that 10% armor on kill. You pair this up with the Gunner class that we're running the specialization, that's 20% already on the build. We have 170,000 armor. We have crit damage, crit chance, and crit damage mod. You'll be able to put mods on every single piece that you'll have with crit damage, because we are sitting around 60%, which is really good. So yeah, armor, crit damage, crit chance, crit damage, and we're running the one piece for the 10% armor on kill. For our chest piece, we're running a Cheska chest piece for the 8% critical hit chance. We have weapon damage on here. We have crit damage, crit chance, crit damage, and then I have Obliterate. Critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 10 seconds, stacks up 20 times. So additional 20% weapon damage you can get on here. But the great thing about this, it lasts 10 seconds versus 5 seconds like before. And for the holster, we have the Zoldalka. This is going to give us 15% magazine size, so that it's going to help us out on that urban MDR. Plus, we have 20% rifle damage, because we are going to be running a 2-piece. We have weapon damage on here, crit damage, and crit chance. It's going to be all red roll. You're going to want 2 pieces of that brand set. For the knee pads, we have the Fox Pair knee pads. Obviously, this gives us 10% rifle damage. We have weapon damage, damage sharks out of cover 8%, even with the nerf. Still a really good piece, especially if you're running rifles, and critical hit damage. And for our second piece of Zoldalka, we have the gloves. So we have weapon damage, critical damage, and critical hit chance. Again, guys, I don't know if I'm saying this right. It's hard. We might start just calling it Zoo. This is the second piece we are running here. And finally, we have the Memento Backpack. Remember, this gives us weapon damage, armor, skill tier, armor, and critical hit damage. You saw we had all critical hit damage mods on here. So enemies you kill drop a trophy on death. Collecting trophies provides both a short-term and long burst. Hopefully by now, most of you guys vets know how this works. For you new players, remember, because I am running 5 red cords, that's 25% weapon damage every time I pick up a trophy. That's 20%, because I have 2 blue cords, bonus armor, and 5% skill efficiency. So a lot of survivability there. And your long-term buff, once you're at full stacks, that's where this shines. 30% weapon damage, 30% skill efficiency, and 3% armor regen. And that should be around 33,000 armor regen once you guys have it at full stack. If we take a look at the stats real quick, I'll show you we're sitting at 60% crit chance. And I'm going to show you how that's even possible. That's actually because of a talent that I have partially active. We have 157% crit damage. We have 80% headshot damage, 18% damage sharks out of cover, which doesn't show up on here. We go over to our here, we'll have 223,000 armor on kill, 1.1 million armor. You remember I told you we're going to be about 32,000 armor regen once we have that 30 stack, so just keep that in mind. So that's why it's so good. Now, I'm going to show you what's allowing me to have extra crit chance. So if you notice at the bottom, I have 2 things that have handcuffs, and you can see I'm halfway there. And what is that? Well, that is one of our modifiers. Modifiers are a thing of builds, and most builds should start showing you those. So if we go over to our modifiers, we have the global modifier. The modifier I like using is either reversal or all out. All out's actually a really good one. So if you can actually get that one, it works great, especially if you can lock in that close range. Now, this is the passive modifier that's allowing me to have amazing crit chance on this build, even though I should only have about 47%. You guys see it's sitting at 60. The reason why is because retribution, shooting enemies inside medium range builds up a stack of 100. For every stack, you gain 0.5% critical chance. So that's a total of 50% critical chance at max stat. Losing a stack for every bullet fired after reaching 100 stacks. So what you could do is lock in a pretty nice crit chance, and then you could pop your active modifier and stay in that close range, and you could always have 60% even without stacking crit chance on the build. That is what's amazing about this event, this season. With the new modifiers, it allows you to make builds pretty insane. For the other modifiers I'm running is liability, effective short range, deal 30% more damage to armor enemies. Short range, the damage received from armor targets increased by 15%. So that's good there. And then we have persistence, which gives us short range, 20% movement speed, feels like having the Lady Death. Medium range is 30% accuracy, and long range is 20% reload speed. So again, those are the modifiers I'm using. Highly recommend anytime you watch a build, ask what modifiers they're using, unless they don't play with the modifiers, because this season and going forward, it's all about modifiers. Modifiers are part of the builds. And that's pretty much it. That's how I have it. I always run the Reviver Hive, and then you can run whatever you want there. But again, this is the build. It's probably one of my favorite rifle builds. I do have another idea for more less memento style rifle build, and I'm still working on this. And last thing, remember, I am using the Urban MDR, but a lot of guys are actually liking the ACR, the lightweight M4. Pick the one that you think feels best for you. Obviously, check the damage numbers, but the Urban MDR is putting out an insane amount of damage, and I'm enjoying this one. So I'll keep looking for better rifles. At the moment, the Urban MDR is the best rifle that I've been able to come across. I'm still farming for more, but I know that the ACR is a fan favorite at the moment, and I've heard a few others out there that people are liking, like the SIG CQB, which is a little bit slower, but hits harder. So again, you could just try to mix match, see which one you like. But again, this build should work for you. This is the build right here. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Hey guys, remember we've been streaming live on Twitch almost every day. We'll be live most likely when this video goes live. So you guys want to catch me over there, twitch.tv/NothingButSkillz. Hey, I'll see you guys later. Nothing But Skills out.